Yes. So, hello to everyone who have tried to log in, and for those who are new to this channel, so we'll be talking more about disease and its effect on our body through naturopathic and yogic perspective. So today we'll be talking on obesity. Obesity, why this time is because everybody have ate sufficiently during the lockdown, and I guess everybody have gained a sufficient amount of weight which they would like to lose now. So based on that, I would like to start off this session by telling that don't worry, 30 days to 60 days of weight gain is actually not a big weight gain, I suppose. So it is very easy to lose your weight. And also on a major scale, what exactly is obesity, how the science and how exactly body has those mechanisms to fight obesity, and let's see what are the natural ways of losing weight. There is no one size fit all kind of a solution with me right now, but definitely there is a lot of other issues which can be tackled, dealt, and probably even taken care to look at the probability causes of obesity and how will you stop its progression. So yes, the weight issue, the more important aspect is what exactly it is. As you can see, obesity, when we say, it's accumulation of adipose tissue, of weight especially, and this tissue in its where the weight is actually getting is called as adipose tissue, and this it increases itself. So the fat cells, adipose tissue is nothing but fat cells. So if it keeps on increasing in itself, then that can lead to impairment in your health. There are two types of obesity which we see. One is android, another one is central, or gynoid, or peripheral. As you can see, we generally call it as pear and apple shaped thing. So people have accumulated a lot of weight in their abdomen. We call it as an apple one. People who have accumulated a lot of weight onto their thighs, hips, and to their back muscles, we call it as glenoid, or we can call it as pear shaped obesity. So this is also a caloric imbalance that results from excess of calories intake above from the normal requirement for the body. So if you take more, these food gets stored into your system, and that can lead to the impairment of all kind of metabolic activities. So as you can see, there are, prevalence, it is found throughout the world. We can classify it into developing countries and developed countries. So in developing countries also, we can see today something which is hindering everybody's perspective or everybody's health is one big cause is obesity. And in countries which is very well off, like that of developed countries, we also have the problems in that also. So causes are basically overeating, genetics, physical inactivity, environmental factors, metabolism, and psychology. So this can lead to hyperlipidemia, which is increased in cholesterol levels that can lead to hypertension, or in effect can lead to hypertension. Can sometimes lead to glucose intolerance, can lead to a heart disease, diabetes mellitus, and also renal failure or detriment in the renal functioning. So more importantly is what is it which is more important is what is the kind of people who can actually get or be prevalent to having obesity. So age is not a number. So from childbirth to your death, you can always tend to gain weight. You see, that is a requirement for your body. So one way you have accumulated too much of weight, we call it as obese. So when we were grown, probably when we were child or when we were infant, our weight was somewhere around 4 to 10 kilos on an average scale. So now we are 60 at mid age. That can lead to slowly gaining weight. Once you reach the peak, like somewhere around 50, 55, there can be a significant weight increasement, but these need not be true. At the same time, it also affects people with less activity and other things. Apart from that, women have a higher rate of obesity clinically because of the metabolic functions which they undergo. So in developing countries, weight decreases during pregnancy, and in developed countries, weight increases in pregnancy. So men don't have a higher rate, but they have a higher overweight. So that means that it is basically due to high consumption of food. Genetic factors also make a lot of things of weight gain, but genetic factor can only be expressed if your environmental factors are also coinciding with your genetic factor. Physical inactivity, where you don't even utilize 2500 kilocalories per day, can lead to that much amount of weight being stored in your system. Also, socioeconomical status, people who are affluent, they tend to eat more of packed, stored food that can lead to increase in weight. Eating habits, who are not having timely food, who have some sort of absurd rate of eating and absurd times of eating, can end up having obesity. Psychological factors such as emotional status, you are feeling depressed, you're not able to go home, you see your kitchen calls you, and you snack up every now and then. That is the reason why people at the end of the day, they either have a big tummy or they have a kind of a different range of eating habits. Familial tendency, smoking, and drugs also include some of the epidemiological determinants for your weight gain. But we need to understand how it actually affects. So we don't have a functioning, or we don't have system which can say that what is the reason. Though we have advanced in genetics, we have advanced in science, we have advanced in many other faculties in science to address such as obesity, the disease such as obesity. We know how it causes, why it causes, but we don't know what is the reason for it to cause, though we have so much of determinants. Because the genetic makeup is not like everybody has the same kind of a genetic makeup. It can be anything. So, but as I said before, obesity would not occur without excess of food intake. So ultimately what we can say is, though there are a number of other chemical factors, chemical influences, food if not taken properly can lead to obesity. So we will discuss and try to understand how chemistry works in our system, because that is what education means, to give you more understanding about chemical nature of your body so that you can utilize it better. So where one is, we call it as neurohormonal mechanism, where hormones and neurons come and play together to form some kind of an interaction in your body. So as you see, one is a peripheral or afferent pathway. The other one is efferent pathway. So efferent pathway or afferent pathway, as we call, or peripheral pathway as we call, is basically signals from the leptins and adiponectins on the fat cells goes to your location and then tries to utilize it. Let me not confuse you with more scientific terms. So afferent is how the body goes and tries to tackle the situation. Efferent is how, after this tackling of situation, how body reacts. So there are few insulin peptide, there are few chemicals in your body like insulin, ghrelin, and leptin, which is responsible for digestion of your food. So this says that when are you hungry? This says that when it's enough for you to not eat. So these chemical signals with your brain tells that there is enough of food in your body, so sustain for this much amount of hours. Now you overcome it by looking at something which is craving for you, and that can override your mechanical or your neurological processing. So that is the reason why there is a confusion between whether to have food or whether not to have food. So this is the reason why we always end up eating more than believing that our body has enough of it. One good example is between hunger and appetite. When we say hunger, basically that is where body actually needs sugar for it to process its activity. Appetite is when your eyes feel sugary to eat any substances. For example, in every other day, what happens is we eat our breakfast, lunch, and dinner at a certain amount of time. Let's say we have a discipline in eating. But if, let's say, if there is some sweet, we don't want to eat the regular food, we would jump to have sweet. Even the same thing happens when you are cooking something very beautiful or cooking something very nice and tasty. You don't want to eat the regular stuff, you want to jump to that tasty and can make sure that those can be taken care of. So that is the reason why you have a lot of problem in the way your body is actually trying to overcome the balances. The thing is, you need to understand how body functions. That is the reason why, again, we are trying to bring in more of an idea about chemical nature of the body. So another compound which is very important, which is also a hormone in nature, is leptin. So as leptin, the name suggests, it is thinning in nature, because if this is too much, then probably you don't feel much to eat. It reduces in quantity, and it also sees to it that these leptins are enough in your body for the food not to enter. So it is because it is synthesized by a fat cell. So when this comes into action, there are certain other regulatory factors which can be seen. They also help in storage of fat. So they don't help in accumulation of fat, they help in utilization of fat which is available onto the body. It also helps in regulation of glucose in itself. So that is the reason why I said leptin is basically trying to make sure that you don't eat much. So this leads to consumption of food. So the lower the leptin goes, the more you would like to have food. So that is the reason why you have to keep your leptin levels a little bit raised. That can be only happening if you let your body do its work. So here, I mean, all the chemical bases, let me remind you that we are not utilizing our idea of food. We are giving body an understanding what it does when the food is available. So then we have POMC or CART mechanism. So it activates the receptors in the body which actually makes you to eat. So it is basically telling you when to eat and what not to eat than telling you how to eat. So if there is a reduction in your body is a glucose level, POMC and CART are the channels or the receptors which stimulates your body to eat more food. So there's a lot of science in it, so I'm not going deep into it because people might not be in the science background but still will become confused. That is the reason. The more important thing is adiponectin. So as the name suggests, adiponectin is present in your all the body cells, fat cells. So what happens is when you are having too much of adiponectin concentrates in your body, that reduces your fat as it burns your fat. So now you have afferent pathway running, where what happens is because of the availability of fat, the body tries to utilize this fat into an energy sources. So one such study shows that it helps in oxidation of muscles. So if you want to run faster, people say keto diet. Keto diet works in this context because you have reduced your carbohydrate intake totally, and your body is only dependent on fat cells. Fat cells gives you sharper images of your body to utilize the fat, but the problem is it has a lot of residues. So your car can function even in petrol, even in diesel, but even before, car can even work in kerosene or any fuel. But the important thing is how well is its footprint. So adiponectin, you cannot depend only on it. But yes, if you are want to run a long race, if you want to run for a longer duration, if you want to do some exaggerated work, then your body will depend on adiponectin for its energy. But if you are turning to keto diet and then trying to reduce your fat and then you again eat, then that's going to be a problem. That is the reason why naturopaths generally don't prefer keto diet on a longer run. It's a short term, concentrated, quick diet protocol, specifically targeting adiponectin in nature. Because of this, it also sees to it that this at one end of the spectrum, what we can say is adiponectin is also good for utilizing your body's fat metabolism, but on the other hand, it is also reducing or intoxicating liver, and that hits liver hard. That is the reason why we say something like too much of ketone food protocols or ketone body protocols can lead to ketonegenesis, which is an acidic nature, which is very harmful for your kidneys as well. So yeah, this is good for, as I said, it is found abundantly in tissues and muscles. So that is the reason why you should always go for this kind of a food if you want to drop out your food ingestion. At the same time, your body to utilize more energy. So adipose tissue is the cells where the fat is stored. So all these things running on a similar fashion, obviously there are some energy which is left out in your muscles. So because of leptin and adiponectin, and it also produces tumor necrosis factor. So interleukin 6, 1 and 18. So there are other important functions of adipose tissue. It is not just for your body to store fat, it is also for target, I mean it is also used for utilizing other chemical natures of your body, which will help in making sure that body functions well. So this is the reason why a lot of adipose tissue can lead to inflammation in your system, because too much of, let's say, cytokines, or let's say too much of tumor necrosing factors and adiponectin in itself can lead to some sort of probabilities in the levels of it that can lead to stroke, arthritis, and also infarction. So we all come to this. If a person loses weight after diet control, is it difficult for him to maintain his weight? Why? This is the reason, because too much of adiponectin and too much of adipose tissue in the body, it is like sponge. You are entirely bringing the sponge, but ultimately what happens is once the water comes, it gets absorbed. So again, the same thing goes in. So the idea of any ideal diet is not to focus more on fat cells, but to focus your body to channelize best back to your glucose levels, channelize best in absorption and utilization. So it is very important that you rely on other sources of energy rather than one source of energy. Along with that, we have something called as gut hormones, which are basically present in your stomach, and because of which your body does the way it does. So there are basically five important hormones. Ghrelin increases before your meal. So when you are feeling hungry, you feel this. So the hunger content is coming from ghrelin. So that reduces as soon as you have your food within 1 to 2 hours. Polypeptide YY chains are the two other things which is low during fasting, increases during your food take. So when you are eating when you're eating food, ghrelin goes down, polypeptide raises. That shows your body when to stop eating. Along with that, we also have pancreatic polypeptide. So polypeptide, again, in the sense of pancreatic ways, or in some similar from pancreas, it reduces the food intake again because the glucose level comes down. That is the reason why insulin is also produced at the same time during the fat cells. Because of pancreatic polypeptide and insulin, your entire amount of food which you want slowly slows down. This is also a reason too much of food can lead to a little bit of drowsiness, because the entire body's insulin is dropped to a larger extent. That makes you feel very weak, a kind of an hypoglycemic or hyperglycemic state. At the same time, you also have amylin, which reduces the food intake and lowering the weight gain. So on a longer duration, amylin is helping you to lower your food without lower your weight without increasing more of food quantity in your system. So coming on to, though it is a vast idea of understanding chemical nature of your body and mind, diet is one very important factor for your food. As I stated earlier, if your diet is really good, then majority of your problems will be solved. The more diet you take, the more food you take, or the way you take care of your diet is more important for your body to get into rhythm, and that will help you in gaining better way of focusing and functioning. So there are few things which is actually suited for everyone in every scale. So as I said before, one size fits all is not a solution. You might be having a genetic problem, you might be having epidemiological problems, but if you take care of these things, then significantly you can see lot of differences in the way your body functions. So yes, first of all, you need to see to it that you are having a lower calorie intake. So it is not that how do we decide calories is based on how do we decide your work. Too much of standing, too much of traveling in the sense which includes walking, too much of weight gaining. So if you are lifting too much of weight, if you are having to push a lot of weight, and if you are a sportsman basically, then it is not for you. So if you are normally people like software people who tend to work from home, people who are not having much of an exertion in their work, they should not exceed more than 2500 kilocalories. This includes both men and women. So this is not like only men should have this much and women should have this much. But if right now you are obese, then you can actually cut it down to 1000 to 1500 kilocalories. It's very difficult for us to judge whether it is 1000 kilocalories or 1500 kilocalories. But what we can see is Indian traditional breakfasts. If I take, let's say, 3 idlis, 2 vada, 1 chutney, 1 sambar, and 1 coffee or tea. This sums up to somewhere close to 1900 kilocalories. So basically 1900 kilocalories is for you as an obese, it's too much. So cut down on your breakfast itself. So think about the lavish amount of food which you take in your lunch, the extravagant dinner which you have. So this is going to affect you if you don't cut down on your food intake. So normal people can have that is the reason why Indian context always tells you eat like a king, your breakfast like a king, eat your lunch like a middleman, and eat your dinner like a pauper. So yes, you have to eat your breakfast heavy. See to it that your lunch is as light as possible, which includes one rice, it includes sambar and rasam, or sambar and rasam and curds. Then dinner as light as possible. So see to it that one bowl of soup, one bowl of vegetables, salads, anything, but it doesn't make you feel weak, but it should see to it that you are stuffed enough. So you are enough to increase the level of your uh, leptin and ghrelin in your system. And see to it that is always combined with high fiber food. So high fiber food comes from your vegetables and fruits which are raw in nature. See to it that you take. So also do fasting. Fasting in the sense not just intermittent fasting where you get up one morning, you see the time is 9 o'clock. Now you don't have a mood of having your breakfast and you call it as a fasting. Definitely not. That is not a right way of doing fasting. The better way of doing fasting is voluntarily trying not to eat one day. Let's say Sunday. You get up in the morning, you have any kind of a juice. Entire day you have juice. Night before going to bed, have some fruits or vegetables, and then next morning continue with your regular diet. This is not the best way, but this is what we call as mono diet fasting. Juice diet or juice fasting will take some amount of restrictions, but it's better to keep your body with little bit lesser amount of food particles for one day, or food for one day, and see to it that your body is actually building up on it. So avoid bulky foods, high fat foods, additives, preserved and enriched. When I say additives, additives is anything which is added to it. So today you get packs which is added with some flavors. Preserved is obviously all the packed foods. Enriched is especially the oils, normal refined oil enriched with vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin D. Those are very bad. Enriching is actually not the right way of making sure the food is good. Enriching will not help much. This is only able to, 1 + 1 is 2, but somehow gets wrong, and still we try to put it under the blanket. So that is not the right way of doing things. So see to it that as much pure as possible you eat your food stuff. The more pure your food stuff is, the better is your way of eating style. So what comes in naturopathy, what we can do? There are many things which we can do. Basically, we consider this as food is also a part of naturopathy though. But apart from food, which can be said for universally, naturopathy talks more about water treatments like steam bath, cold hip bath. Hip bath is basically you're immersing your abdomen, lower back, pelvic region and your upper thighs in cold water for a minimum of 20 minutes. So it's basically like you're sleeping on a cold tub, but not entire body, only a part of your body. Gastrohepatic pack is where you use your hot bag and a cold bag, place it on your abdomen on both the sides. So you use your hot bag onto your abdomen, cold bag onto your back, wrap it around and stay there for 20 minutes. You can also use local mud. So it's mud. When I say, people have questions like red soil, black soil, so it is river soil. Mud is basically anything which you dig deep, let's say 3 to 4 feet down, and whatever you gather, just have a wash and then apply it. It doesn't matter which kind of a mud it is there. The mud is not more important, the sun is more important. So you have to see to it that your abdomen is covered with mud and you are exposed that to sun. That part which you have applied mud has been exposed to sun, because once the mud dries, then the body will have the required amount of nutrients coming from the mud. So heliotherapy, sun therapy is also called as heliotherapy. Be sure that every day for a minimum of 30 minutes you are out in the sun, seeing to it that something good happens to you. Well, obviously when you're outside, something good will definitely happen to you, but more importantly is sun enhances majority of your bodies to take, or we can say chemically enriches you to do work. That is the reason why we can say A lot of things can be done through naturopathy. These are the few ways of doing it. Exercise and yoga and its application. So if you go to American Heart Association, today also they have a protocol for cardiovascular health. This comes because many people are into gymming. There are many people into Zumba and other classes. Yoga has also become a kind of exercise regime, power packed exercises. But American Heart Association clearly states that 30 minutes of a regular exercise for 150 minutes in total in a 5-day kind of a regime, or at least 25 minutes of high aerobic activity for at least 3 days to a total of 75 minutes. So technically you have to expose yourself 30 minutes daily for 5 times in a day and go out and do some kind of an activity, which is walking, jogging, and all those things. But if you are very highly intensive practitioner, then you have to have a 40 minutes of regimen for 3 to 4 days. Well, it is very complicated to look at this way. So what we can say is every day you do some kind of a physical activity, but see to it that you don't perspire too much. At the same time, you see to it that you are getting a whole lot of good way of getting yourself into the picture. So, well, you can use something called as dynamic rhythmatic movements, where you do Surya Namaskara, where you do a flow of asanas, one together, I mean, in a systematic way, one after the other, without having any breaks. But more important is what it defines apart from exercise and yoga is very much focused on your breath. So yoga is very much focused onto your body movements. Yoga is very much focused onto your awareness, which doesn't happen in exercise. So 25 minutes of yoga is basically might be intensive, but if you're focusing on your breathing, if you're focusing on your way your body is moving, then probably I can call any exercise also as yoga. So also, like I said before, you can do pranayama, which is Surya Nadi stimulation 24/7. You can look onto my pranayama segment on this channel. You will get a link about what exactly I'm talking about, Surya Nadi stimulation or right nostril breathing. Then there are also some kriyas which you can do, which we call as Agnisara Kriya. So you're basically flapping your abdominal wall in and out. So once you start flapping your abdominal wall once you hold your breath and just try to flap your abdominal wall in and out, there is a systemic movement, and there the blood circulation to your body also enhances. So behavioral therapy is also one such therapy. You can have counseling, you can have cultural changes, you can also talk to your people. And hypothalamus stimulant is also one such thing where you're actually trying to gather information by people around you. So if you are obese, your friend is also obese, you both come together, work, and also make sure that you both reach your goals. And that leads to positive reinforcement. And then you try to do it again and again. So yes, work habits and cultural changes are very important. You cannot sit entirely without expecting changes. So you need to see to it that you do some of these changes. But allopathy talks about a different way. Allopathy talks about surgery. So there are 3 types of surgery, as you can have shown here. Along with that, there is also medications which reduces your appetite. Means obviously the chemical signals of the body is already taken care of, and also that helps you in reducing the fat intake in the body. At the same time, it sees to it that the fat cells are not generating in itself. There are many kind of medicines for this, but on a longer path, medicines is not only a solution. So ultimately, even we believe, or anybody believes, that for any of your medicines to work, you need good food. So thy food, thy medicine is what Hippocrates says. At the same time, what we are doing is we are treating food itself as medicine. So see to it that you don't depend on multi-medicinal mode, then you depend on food and consider itself as medicine. Any doctor throughout the world will tell you one thing: food has to be taken either before meal, after meal, during meal. Only few rare cases are there when you go before sleep or you get up in the morning and take this in an empty stomach. So majority of the drugs are basically food oriented drugs. So see to it that if your food itself is right, then you don't depend on any of these ways. So this is the end of my talk on obesity. A lot of things we covered, a lot of things we tried to get into it. If you have any questions, you can always write down to dradithyahande@gmail.com for more interactive and more kind of understanding about these sessions. You can also subscribe more for latest educative content. At the same time, next Sunday or the next week, we'll be coming and talking about ergonomics. So all the computer techies, all the people who are sitting more and who don't have time to get up and work, here is something which you can do. So that is the reason why I'm trying to bring obesity and ergonomics together, so that it will link the ways you can utilize a little bit of exercise regimen in your regular work period. So stay tuned for more educative content. Thank you.